Last night, I cleaned up my desk, and while doing so, I found these parts. This is the canopy from the FT Edge 540, which I kept because it looks cool. This is the tail, and only remaining part of my FT X29, after its wing broke and it was consumed by a field. And this is the 6S battery, 70mm EDF, and 80A ESC from said X29, now with a new foam board and card casing that is currently held together with tape, but will be glued later. Probably. I saved these pieces because I've decided to scratch build my first EDF jet. That's the premise of this video. We're building a jet. I had three ideas of the plane that I was going to make. My first idea was a flying wing sort of design with the EDF in a tube underneath, sort of like the F-86, but it's a flying wing. I like this one because it looks a bit like a car from the side, which is interesting. My second design is this. Essentially, it's just a regular plane with a V-tail, and it incorporates the FT Edge 540 canopy into the nose, and then it just goes back from there with a V-tail in the back just for a little bit of flair. However, this doesn't include the X29 tail, which is a bit annoying, as I'd like to include that in all my designs. Last one is this. This is part of a plane that I designed a while ago, which was initially meant to use a propeller, not an EDF, but I could change it so that it works with an EDF on the bottom. This would be a glider type thing, where I'd use the EDF to get up really high and then just glide about doing some FPV or something like that. This doesn't use any of the parts though, apart from the EDF, ESC and battery, so I don't think I want to do this. Ultimately, I decided to do the V-tail jet version because I think that it would be the most interesting, and it would also give me 4-channel, whereas with the flying wing I'd probably only have 3-channel, given that the rudder on the X29 doesn't actually move. So yeah, that's what I've decided to do. Let's get into the build. So this is the front of the design. We've got this top part which fits into the bottom part, and then this skewer just holds it in place. It's also got 2 skewers going into the front, as you can see right there. And I added glue to the holes they go into. Now, we're going to start on the wings, I think. We're going to make them so they start here, and then go around, and then end right here. So they'll be swept back wings, but then they'll have a part that fits in here, so that's gonna basically connect them better to the fuselage, but also just make the fuselage a bit stronger. But yeah, you get started drawing out the wing shapes and folding them over and just doing it. Okay, well, that's the wing basically done. I've left the back still able to be opened, but it's currently taped up. So I'm just making sure that it's able to be bent down in the way that I want it to. This thing is massive. I think it's out of frame. Yep, it's out of frame. But it's the biggest wing I've ever made. And it's a bit heavy, but it's not too bad. We've got the aileron wires there. And then this slides in here. And then, yeah. So it begins. That obviously fits in quite well, which is really good. And now we're going to start on the tail and just the back of the aircraft. I'm going to have it come over this poplar piece and then glue into this as well. So the tail will be attached to both the wing and the front of the fuselage. So then it's going to be really strong, and it'll reinforce the wing as well. So that should help. So yeah, tail time. Okay, finally the tail is done. I know for you guys it was only a quick animation, a quick stop motion. For me, it was 2 hours of work. And it's done. I think it's ready to be glued in. I'm gonna stick it in right here, underneath the wires obviously, and then I'll see the strength. It might be a bit weak, so if it is a bit weak, I'll either reinforce the connection between this and this with like a triangular bit, or I will try and add skewers in places, but it's all to be determined. So now it's gluing time. We're going to put that in, we're going to put this into here, and yeah, it's all coming together. Once that's actually connected in, then I'm going to add the V-tail. And I haven't left any space inside here for the wires, so they might just be on the outside, or I might try and mount the servos over here. It's all just to be determined, but it is really coming together now. Okay, that took longer than it should have, but we got the tail up and running. As you can see, I've done this system where we've got the top wire going to the top of the elevator and the bottom going to the bottom of the elevator. Or rather, I don't know what you call it, because I guess it's a V-tail, so it's one side of the V and the other side of the V. But the reason for this is that there was warping in these control rods. So if we go like this, you see the bottom one warps and the top one's straight. And we do the other way, top one warps, bottom one's straight. So if I'd left it as with only one,
that would have been really bad because you'd have a really weak, you'd have it really weak in one direction, really strong, and just pretty normal in the other. So to fix that, I did this system. It's not really new, but I've never done it before, and I think it's quite cool. So we are now fully done on control surfaces. We have our ailerons, we have our elevator, we have our rudder, and now it's time to install the EDF for the throttle. But it is really coming along, and I'm quite happy with it, and yeah, EDF time. Okay, so it's almost 3 AM, so I have not filmed the last part of this, unfortunately, but this is the EDF unit. It's been mounted on the bottom of the plane, as you can see there. I was gonna add wheels, but I think they would have probably broken off because my landing strip, well, you have to come down quite quickly and it's just not very good, and I'm also not a very good lander. So I decided not to go with wheels, and I think this feels quite strong. Like, it probably doesn't look very strong on the video, but it feels really sturdy. In the front here, we've got our battery, 5200, 6L. That is the build completed. Now, tomorrow, well actually I guess today, we are going to fly it. So here we are. I've added some green to the wingtips to make it a bit more visible, and I've also made the bottom red, so that's going to help as well, hopefully. My concerns: if you look at this more closely, this is popping up when I push it down for some reason, which is a bit annoying, honestly. And if it comes off in flight, then I'm going to be really pissed off. Also, this is beginning to delaminate a bit with the paper and the board, so that sucks. But I don't think that's a huge problem because the front part isn't really taking a lot. So I think it's okay. I'm just going to try and bash that down. Other concerns: it might be too nose heavy. Like, that's very much a possibility. Yeah, but apart from that, I think it's okay. I've got my speedometer in here, so we're going to measure the top speed. Yeah, I know the engine works, and we're ready. Let's go. Ready? Here it is. I do not know why it crashed, but I have an idea. Alright, well, here we have the crash site. It's basically fully destroyed. Oh yeah, get the battery. It's fixable. It's definitely fixable. I just don't know how. Alright, well, that's that. Well, that was not very successful. That was quite a crash. I mean, I looked at the footage, and what I think happened is that this... Hold on. I initially believed that the reason for the plane not working and crashing was due to this part of the tail breaking. The triangle that held the top and side of the tail together, I thought, had broken,
and thus caused the plane to fall out of the sky as the elevator lost control. I'm now pretty sure this is wrong. Why do I think this is wrong? Well, that was pretty well connected, and it's pretty unlikely that this would have actually been the problem. And even so, the tail was still quite strongly connected by other parts, such as the wing. The other reason is that while repairing, I noticed that one of the control horns was really, really loose, and I remember not gluing that control horn down very well. Unfortunately, I didn't remember this before going to fly. So that's probably the reason that it crashed. A loose control horn. Great, now we know. On to the fixing. So how am I going to fix this? Well, I've started by cutting off any excess parts of the wing. I'm just going to have the wings which have the airfoil section, and then I'll glue those together. Secondly, that nose needs a complete redo because it's all broken. So I'm taking off all the Velcro and rebuilding the nose. This time, I want the canopy to sit on top of it rather than inside of it. So I've doubled up on the 3mm foam board so that it will be able to have the canopy rest on top of it rather than just sliding around. What else have I done? Well, for the tail, we're lengthening it. I'm pretty sure that the plane was still a bit nose heavy, so I'm moving the tail back a bit so the EDF is further back, which means that it'll be slightly less nose heavy without adding too much weight. The battery is really heavy, so it needs to be compensated by something that's quite heavy or something light that's quite far back, the EDF. And as well as this, I've also decided to glue in part of the canopy. So I cut it in half, added Velcro to stick them together, and then glued in the canopy to the fuselage. This way, I can easily attach the front part of the canopy, and it's not going to be sliding around because it'll be under quite a lot of pressure from both the front and the back, keeping it in place. As well as this, the canopy is where the wing will be attached. So I've decided I'm going to slide the wing into the fuselage itself rather than just having it stuck onto it like it was in the first one, just stuck on the bottom. I think that in a crash, this will make the wing less likely to be damaged, or if it is damaged, it might not be just completely ripped out, and hopefully the fuselage will stay together better. Anyways, that's all the repairs I did. So now, here is V2. You can see it's a bit longer, it's got the fuselage in a bit longer, and it's got the battery in pretty much the same place. It's also a bit less cramped than version 1 was, as the canopy kept popping up because the canopy section was really cramped. So I've fixed that problem now. So yeah, there we go. And I'd love to say now it's time for the second flight, but it's not. Unfortunately, while I had the plane on the ground and I was waiting for my family to come along so they could film it, I fiddled with the controls a bit, just checking the ailerons and the elevator and the rudder was working. And I thought, why don't I just make sure that it can hit full throttle and just feel the power? I wonder how much power this plane has. So I gave it full throttle for literally 2 seconds and then brought it back to 0. And then I look at the plane, and would you look at that? It's on fire! The plane was on fire! So I panicked a bit, ripped out the ESC, smacked it on the ground to put it out, and then just smacked the plane like a baby that. Wait. Never mind. Smacked the plane, put it back down once it had stopped being on fire. And that was the end of my plane. I'm really sorry that there is no flight that I can show you in this video, but there will be a part 2. I have ordered a replacement ESC, this time one that can handle up to 100 amps, up to 110 amps actually, instead of just 80 like this one was. Hopefully, that will make the plane fly better and actually be able to get in the air, and I won't have to limit myself to lower throttles. That's the plan at least. Anyways, that's it for today. With my upload schedule and school, I have no idea when the next video of it flying will be, but I promise as soon as it's done, I will have it, as soon as the ESC arrives, I will install it, I will get it flying, and I will put it out to all of you. And by all of you, I mean the like 5 people who are watching this video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great day. If you enjoyed anything about this video, please consider subscribing. It would be really cool. And yeah, goodbye.